Welcome to the Bible Vibes Podcast, where we're having a gospel-centered conversation that relates to the world and culture we live in today. The hope for this is simple. We hope that you tune into the conversation and that you're encouraged as well as challenged as you walk through the season of life that you're in. So with that in mind, let's jump right into this week's episode of the Bible Vibes. I don't know. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. We are debating Disney and Nickelodeon today. And
Psych!
It'd be fun. Now everybody would go Nick now, though, because of everything that's going on with Disney.
Nick.
Nickelodeon.
That's where it's at.
Disney used to be
Disney's going downhill so bad.
Yeah. The Disney World, Disney, the show, the network. I mean, there's still some good stuff, but man, they got some.
It's
they
like
got
our
some
creativity level as we get further into comparison and stuff is downhill.
We might. This
Being
podcast
consumed.
might move up. If Disney was a podcast, we might jump it.
We would probably be on Disney.
But a lot of
Channel.
people hate the Bible more than they hate Disney. So, and that's a problem. And that's why we're doing this podcast, is to talk
because
to
we
people.
want to be a problem.
Yeah,
to some people.
pretty much. That's pretty much what you ask for in Christianity. Is God always? He doesn't give you more than you can handle, right?
Yes, he does.
No. What we're talking about is how you, yourself, the listener, as well as your friends, can be better at what you already do.
Period.
How
can you be better?
How can you be better?
No, seriously, how can we be better friends? How can we find better friends? How can we better our friendships? And so that's what we're going to dive into today.
What should we where should we go to look for what a friend should be, though? Should it be, online, 10 ways to find friends?
So there's a lot of
TV
ways.
shows.
There's a lot of places to find an idle friendship.
You can honestly, there's probably, just like there's dating apps, there's probably friendship apps. A lot of people go online and they have friends through a network. Like, they can't see them, they can't.
Yeah, what is the Omegle stuff?
Omegle is a popular one. There's definitely things out there where it's like chat rooms and that can lead down to a path that's where a lot of things happen that we are not going to get into because that's just the idea of where we are in the world. I think anything can become sin ultimately. So where should we go for trying to find the ideal friendship?
Where should we go? So as the pastors here on this podcast, obviously we can go to the Bible. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Where'd we find friendship in each other? At a church, right?
Yeah.
Was it? That's where, I don't even remember the first time I met you.
At summer camp.
Was it summer camp?
Yes. It was at summer camp. Daytona. Wow. Daytona Beach.
Daytona. That is where this podcast began. Long ago, before we even knew it, God had a plan.
Yep.
And look at where we are now.
Oh, so a lot of friendships do happen in church. Like families just coming and kids getting into youth group and
that's what it's about,
finding their niche, finding their
community.
Clique. Yeah.
It's like, and don't get me wrong, like church isn't the only place you look for friendship. I have friends from school, have friends from
the gym.
Yeah, the gym, random places, honestly, like, former employers, you work at places, you create friendship, and sometimes you create bonds that last a lifetime. But there are friendships that last, but there are also friendships that seem to die off, especially maybe you move somewhere and, you make that promise, like, we're friends to the end, but then you don't hear from each other for 6 months. Yeah. But then on the other side, it's like, I could, like, for example, if we didn't talk for like 2 months, I could text you and we could pick right back up where we left off. I have friends from Bible college like that, where we have not talked in months, but I know like if they send me something, like it's like we never left.
Yeah.
And so the idea here is one, community is important in your life, and two, what is a biblical friendship? So starting with community, that's what we're founded on, and with the young adults here, that's what we create is just relationships with each other. But there's a thing that you notice in, especially in households in the modern house build, I guess you could say. There's less front porches. There's less living rooms that are, a little bit bigger. Less kitchens that are, I mean, they're starting to be a little bit smaller, minimalized. And then you see, bigger walk-in closets. You see bigger lighting in the bathroom. You see 3-car garages. Not saying these are terrible things, and I don't know if that's your mindset behind these things, because that's not what everybody thinks of when they're building a household, but we're built for community. God created us to have, that's why he literally made woman out of man, because he wanted her to complement him. He said from the beginning, man was not meant to be alone. And so that doesn't just go from the marriage aspect, but that goes for everyday life. And so like why do you think it is that we're doing less of, having, we're more drawn, and you're an introvert, so like you understand
Sure
this.
am proud of it.
and so sometimes it's like I don't want, like, and I'm the same way, like sometimes you just want to go home and just be left alone, like
Absolutely.
crawl into a cave, do your thing, that's it. But there's also the idea of community, having people to surround yourself
Yeah.
with, and
God
whatnot.
calls us to community. And to answer your question, why are we creating smaller community spaces? Why are we taking away that is the focal point? And it's because we are becoming less. Let me say this right. We're focusing less on Jesus, and we're focusing more on ourselves every day.
That's it. That's exactly what I was thinking.
And when you focus on yourself, you're not worried about loving others. You're not worried about loving God. You're not worried
Yep.
about loving people. You're worried about what is my desire. And going back to the house thing, that's not what we're really talking about today, but just going back as an illustration. If you're building a house, and let's take Josh and Allison Mullins, for example. They built that house based on community, and we have the perfect space
Yeah.
to meet every Tuesday night as a college ministry with 20, 25, 30 college students. And that space is so open. It's so perfect for a group. It's perfect for community. Versus some of these houses that are being built are, like you said, being built with bigger kitchens for our indulgent purposes, so that we can say, hey, look at my kitchen. Bigger closets, bigger bedrooms, bigger private areas.
Yeah.
Because we want to be proud of ourselves more than anything, I feel like.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, like we stated, it's not like it's like a terrible thing. That may not be even the front like standpoint of your mindset when it comes to building a house, but especially if you're like 2 single parents, like I understand if you want a bigger closet, because like there's 2 of you, you need to like my dad literally has this much of a space in the closet, and it's a huge closet, like I mean you can walk on both sides, and my mom has like 80% of it, so it's so funny. But to the Mullen standpoint, like yes, they literally, when they started that, they said we created this house for ministry purposes. Not like a week after they move in, we start the college group, and we're figuring out where are we supposed to meet, and the doors open there. And that's what the idea of the gospel comes with a house key, where that is so important. Acts 2 tells us that the people gathered in houses, they broke bread together, they loved one another, they had that. And so in the same aspect, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's less about Jesus and more about us. It's less about others and more about us. And the Bible is clear. Love others as yourself. And one thing we're good at is loving ourselves. We indulge. And that's not just food. That is, what I wanted to state was there's a huge movement going on, and it's a good thing and a bad thing in my eyes. The idea of I'm trying to think of the word here. It's more on the mental health side, and so I'm not taking away from that, but like it's more about like focusing on yourself. That mindset where it's like I want to better myself, I want to do more. A lot of people are doing the 75 hard challenge, which is going to the gym twice a day, reading a book, bettering themselves in their diet, and all these things, and it's creating discipline, and I love that. It's something that I desire in my life. Because as pastors, it's like you don't get to have a set schedule. It's last week our pastor had 3 funerals. Like I mean that is crazy. You don't plan for stuff like that. And so I've tried to create things and it's led to a legalistic thing in my eyes. And it's taken away from people in my life that I need to love on. There's people in my life that, including my fiance, my family, my friends, where I've taken away from that. And so there's a good thing and a bad thing with this. I think the good thing is you're disciplining yourself, you're bettering yourself for a long-term standpoint, versus it can become an idol. I'm not saying it is an idol. It can become an idol. Doing well for yourself, doing better for yourself. You're focused on yourself, and you start to take away from your friends, your family, and all that, to the point where it's like when you finally want to, invite them in, it's like they've moved on. Like it's like, dude, you weren't there for me in this season of my life when I needed you most. Like, yes, I know you were trying to do better for yourself, and I don't want people to turn this the wrong way. Like, do well for yourself, but understand that God created you for more than yourself. And so I just think it's so important to remember that standpoint, and it's a dying daily process. It's not just like a natural. Some people have that gift where it's like I want to give. I'm a giver. I want to be there for people. Call me at any time of the day. And there's some people that are like, call me from 10 to 12, but that's it. Like after that,
Right. Yeah, and not everybody has the spiritual gift of hospitality,
right.
and that's where it becomes more of it's a mindset. It's not everybody has to follow this specific guide. It's a mindset because God has given you a specific gift. And if your gift is hospitality, then run after that and make your community centered around your spiritual gift. And reach out to those who maybe don't have the same gift that you have because God has given us things that we are better at to get together, and that's the purpose of community, is to bring every part of his body together to complete his purpose and his plan. So we're not don't take this the wrong way. We're not saying that you have to have a house that has a 400 square
Especially
foot
with
meeting
the market
space.
right now.
Yes, do not. No,
Don't even buy a house
don't
right
go
now.
sell
yo.
your house and buy. No, don't do that. What we're saying is change your mindset. We need to change our mindsets to a community based rather than a what can I get from myself this morning. JP Pekluda wakes up every morning, lists 5 things that he's grateful for, and that takes our mind off of ourselves and puts it on what God has done in our lives. And
They've compared that to something
what we're
that
thankful
there's a joy you create a joy when you do that for a consistent amount of time.
Yeah.
The same amount as if you were to win the lottery, which is like just crazy. 'Cause,
crazy.
like
Yeah.
$1 million in my bank account versus
But
what I'm
that's the
thankful
thing,
for.
like we don't believe that because we don't do it. We haven't
Yeah,
tried it.
that's what the world
Like
teaches us is like this will satisfy you. But
yeah.
if you're a Christian, discipline yourself for godliness. Along the way, you will discipline yourself in other areas too. Don't get me wrong; we love to work out. We want to feel good, like as far as eating healthy and like be able to.
And that stuff's amazing. We're supposed to do
Yeah,
that.
and exactly like to minister better. And when I say minister, I'm speaking to every Christian because ministry is a church wide job. It's not just like a title of a pastor or a music leader or a children's director or anything like that. You are in ministry as soon as you accept Christ into your life.
And God says go.
Paul literally, upon conversion, went away for years, studied the Word, heard from the Lord, got revelation from God, and went and he told his story. Despite persecuting Christians and stuff, he tells us, he reminds us, he says, tell your story,
And
no
that's
matter
ministry.
what.
That's
That's
ministry.
ministry. You have no idea. no idea how much your life can mean to just one other person. I thought about that yesterday during service, um, and one person came to my mind when we were sitting there, because just like the idea of this, it wasn't the message, wasn't geared towards this, but I was reminded that here at Loveland, there's been at least one person, but one person came to mind in this moment where I've known that there's been an impact on both sides. He's helped me, I've helped him, and that's the idea of friendship. Is like we're broken people, and God brings us together for that, which brings us to the idea of friendship.
So take us over to David real quick.
Let's go to David and Jonathan. Um,
Many of us probably don't even know about David and Jonathan. Like
no,
how their relationship worked out.
so Saul was the king of Israel at the time, and then we all know David and Goliath. David slays Goliath, and everybody's like, this kid just came in and just like rocked his world, rocked the entire world.
Literally.
Going to be, yeah.
That was good.
I didn't even think about that. He rocked his world to the point of death. Oh, we should just end right there.
Wow.
I don't want to. This is ADHD. So Jonathan sees this happen. Jonathan is amazed, and I mean, like, I think we all would be too if we were there. It'd be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, like one of those like
Like
rap
hyping him
battles
up.
online, like, hey. Jonathan though is drawn to this. He sees David as not only a friend but a brother. And First Samuel, I don't want to take the Bible out of context. 1 Samuel 18, 1 through 3, it says he basically, to sum it up, he loves David as himself. And this is a common verse that is taken out of context, as we were talking about earlier, especially in the LGBTQ community. And listen, don't get me wrong, I love my brothers and sisters in that community. I pray for them, but you need to understand truth, and that is God's truth. And one example of that is we take these verses, and this is just one example out of many in the entire world where we take things out of context, and we run with it, saying that this is a relationship between David and Jonathan. But he says that he loved David as himself. Jesus tells us in the New Testament to love others as ourselves. That is the greatest, one of the greatest commandments there is, and that is the idea that it is all people. Jonathan loved David as a friend. He loved him as himself. And one thing, again, we already pointed out, we love ourselves well.
Yeah.
And in that, Saul, as we know, like the timetable moves on, Saul is jealous of David. David's doing all these miraculous things. I think Saul deep down knows that David is going to become king over him at some point, and so he begins to try to kill David. But and he even tries to tell his son, "Hey, bring David to me so I can kill him." Because as long as David's alive, you are not going to become king. And as we all know, like just from a history standpoint, when a father dies, usually a son steps into his place or a family member of that sort. And Jonathan, he knows that he's going to reign with David. Like that's the mindset they had. They had, when we're kids and stuff, like we have dreams with our friends where it's like, man, we're going to do it big. Like, and we talk about it in ministry all the time. Like we want to do this to the end. Like we want to all do this together. And ultimately it's God's plan. And God did have another plan. Jonathan, along with his father, was slain and killed in battle. But not because of anything with David and trying to lure, or Jonathan trying to lure David in. Jonathan loved David, and it was a biblical love. It was a friendship like no other, and so it brought us to a point where he would convince his father not to do certain things. He would tell his dad, "Listen, hey," like he even got him to sign a treaty that Saul eventually broke, and but not to kill David, like not to harm him, because he loved David so much. I mean, he was drawn to him. The Bible is clear, and it's just a friendship, man, that we can evidently like take forth, because it's so easy for us to again focus on ourselves and not focus on others when it's inconvenient to me, but it's convenient. Like you need my help, but it's inconvenient to me. I'm not going to be there. And that is so like that is where we are so many times. And so it's um, friendship is such a beautiful thing when we honor it from a God standpoint. Um, I think he's clear on it. I think we need friends. I think we are built for it, and you need people that you can rely on. The Proverbs here, there's multiple. I'm just going to read them off. So if you're getting annoyed with my voice, just hold tight. A true friend shows love no matter what. Proverbs 17:17. A true friend gives heartfelt advice, bringing joy to the heart. Proverbs 27:9. A true friend rebukes when necessary. People don't like that, but the correction is done in love. Proverbs 27:5-6. A true friend influences, enlivens, and sharpens. Proverbs 27:17. Or as iron sharpens iron. A true friend avoids gossip, which, man, Baptists, we are good at gossip.
Yep.
Proverbs 16:28. A true friend forgives and does not hold grudges. Proverbs 17:9. A true friend is loyal. Proverbs 18:24. And a true friend, this is from Ecclesiastes, a true friend helps in time of need. Ecclesiastes 4:9-12.
And the whole overarching idea there is love
Is love.
and selflessness.
Yes. And it's, again, it's, we don't like to be corrected. Like, I'll be the first to admit to you, like, I hate when I'm trying to do something and somebody's like, "You're not doing it right," and then we in our minds are just like hard headed, or at least me, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep doing it, and then I end up doing it. It gets worse.
And that is prime example of pride in our lives.
Yeah.
And every everybody struggles with it. It's natural to be prideful, but again, it goes back to that mindset of dropping ourselves, letting go of what we want, and picking up what God wants for our lives. And God wants humility. God wants love. God wants you to be in community. And sometimes, I hate to say it, but sometimes that means you got to drop some people out of your life. And it can be hard to swallow that. But, those friends that you've had forever, since middle school, high school, you've stuck with them. Sometimes that means if you want to follow God's plan for your community, sometimes that means that we've got to drop those bad influences, those people that clearly are not going to be influenced for the gospel. And we just have to make some hard decisions, because the hard decisions that you make in this life are going to have great rewards in heaven after this.
Ezekiel tells us that God took our heart of stone and gave us a heart of flesh. And in that, obviously, we know flesh. We still have desires of sin. We aren't hardened by sin, but we are now. We know it's around us. We know it's like embedded in us, basically, and we have the desires in this world to go after that. The idea of chasing after our fleshly desires. But God is also clear where He also gave us a heart for Him. It is there, and that is free will, where the Lord is sovereign. He is kind. He gives us certain things, but He also gives us the choice. It's not a robust relationship or robotic. He created us for relationship, just like He created a relationship for us with our peers. Choosing your playground wisely is just a reality.
Yeah.
Because who you surround yourself with is who you ultimately become. I don't have statistics here for you. I just know it to be true. It is a common thing, and you can deny it until it happens to you.
Yeah.
If I don't even know how to give a scenario here.
I heard this yesterday to go along. I heard it yesterday. It's not my quote. If you show me your friends, I will show you your future.
Yes. And it is so true. Very true. People in our lives, and we're not here to give testimony to our past as far as like calling people out or anything like that, because we are called to love, and that's sometimes our excuse. Like, well, I'm with these people, or like I'm gonna go to that party because I'm gonna shine a light.
I'm gonna be different.
Yeah, but you're not Jesus.
Yeah.
Like I think Jesus is clear to love others. Like even those that you disagree with. Like we can't even have a conversation now. Like if Democrat versus Republican, no mask versus mask, believer versus non-believer. We can't even have a conversation, which is ruining evangelism to a max.
Yeah.
Because we're selfish too as Christians. Like when it comes, like you don't agree with me, whatever.
Yeah, and that's pride too.
That is ultimate pride, and we're supposed to be the example. And so, I ask for forgiveness in that realm of like where we've messed up as a community, we've messed up as followers of the gospel, but we are called to be different, which means sometimes cutting people out for a certain amount of time, even praying for them though. Praying that God would do a work on their heart, praying that God would do a work on your heart to better yourself in this area. Like, Lord, I hate that I'm cutting this person out, or Lord, I keep being influenced by this group of people, and I need you to do a work in my life, or I need you to do a work in their life. He is miraculous. He will do things if you allow him to. I firmly believe in the reality that God still performs miracles. We're a miracle in itself. We know Jesus Christ. That solidifies everything. That's a miracle, whether you believe it or not. I know people think that means like him striking lightning down, or putting money into your bank account when it's you're at negative $10 because you don't know how to budget. That's a selfish ambition versus a godly miracle, a mindset to follow Christ. So when your eyes are focused on Jesus instead of your circumstances, I think that changes the game. I think that's the ultimate.
Definitely does. Yeah, definitely. It gives you a different perspective on yourself.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
like I can't.
Wretch. What a wretch.
I'm awful, but I do have the ability to follow in this relationship with Jesus. Like, it gives you I hate to say feel good.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, I have peace that I'm fulfilling what I'm supposed to be fulfilling right now.
My testimony's pretty simple. Is I've literally followed people for satisfaction. I wanted people to like me, which led me to doing things that I know I should not have been doing, and it led me astray. And I was not a believer until I was 19 years old, and I'm thankful that it happened the way that it did, because that's a part of my story. Not proud of it, but that is proof of God's sovereignty, that He is good, He's gracious. There's no certain age, but I will tell you, Jesus is coming quickly, and so what you do now matters for later.
It definitely does matter. And as we close, we just want to encourage you, man. If you've got a community around you, just check it. Be accountable for that group. Just make the right decisions. Love God first, and then love other people, and then love yourself.
Hannah Montana says it best. You're a true friend.
Oh my God.
Here till the end.
Oh my gosh. We opening with Disney and closing with Disney.
That's the tweet. Let us know what you like better, Disney or Nickelodeon, as far as throwbacks, because I don't even know anymore if they're. I don't even know if they're still on TV.
2010 and before.
I can't even tell you. Do you still watch TV? I watch sports, but
like Netflix.
Yeah, now we have all the apps. It's like Disney Plus even. There's probably something for Nickelodeon. I'm pretty sure they did come out with something. So
there's people that aren't even buying TVs for their house anymore because they just watch it on their phones.
I mean, we're I don't know. We're in a different age. We
got to move with the times.
Right. Choose your friends wisely. Be in community. Love others as yourself. And if you have comments or questions,
if you want community, come to Loveland.
The Loveland
community.
We do. Any age you are, whether you're a young adult, a youth, a parent, a elder, a married person, a single person, whatever it is.
If you're a baby right now.
Yeah, if you're listening to the podcast and you're a baby, listen, God, Psalm 8, God uses infants. He uses the weak. It is amazing. Your baby's weak. I mean, put him in a UFC ring against somebody, he's probably going to lose. That's just the reality. He's weak. He uses the weak. I don't know where I'm going with that.
God uses everybody.
God uses everybody. He uses those that he uses you. Use your story.
We're gonna
yeah, we need to end. We love you guys.
Peace out.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to check the links below for our Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcast accounts where you can listen wherever you go and stay up to date on TBV info.